Hey guys, welcome back. Long time no chat about this car, and for most of you, you probably won't even recognize it because last time we did a video on this vehicle, it was still in the old silver livery with a little bit of home painted rattle can orange up and down the sides. So yeah, introduction to the new Victron Energy BMW 330i race car. And Sunday morning, the day after the 2022 Passion for Speed race, which we've just got back from. And I'd like to give you a little bit of feedback on what we've been up to with this car and how it went over the last couple of days at the Passion for Speed event. So we haven't done a huge amount of work on the car. Obviously, a lot of aesthetics, making it pretty. The new skin. We had done a small brake upgrade with some improved discs, and had to replace our endless ME20s, which had reached the end of their life. We had got through a race on a set of borrowed second-hand Ferrodo DS2000s or 2500s, I think they were. Really not worth the trouble. So we're now running PFCs. And other than that, we tried to tidy up the wiring, get a little bit of additional wiring weight out, but nothing much more to speak of in terms of the car, because it was really pretty much where we wanted it, and the focus has been on driving more than anything else. Probably the biggest change going ahead though for this 2022 season is the fact that this car is now driven exclusively by myself, and we now have a new car which we'll quickly pan over to, which is Nick's new E90. And this car was literally built in a week and a half, 2 weeks, and Nick will give you some feedback on that in a moment. So Nick was competing in that car. For the first time, we were actually able to get on track together and be able to enjoy the fun, both from a driver's seat perspective. There was one other change though that I did actually want to point out, probably the raciest change that we've got, and that was to get rid of our old rear exit, very motley looking exhaust. Obviously, as you guys know, our claim to fame is we try and do everything ourselves. So we had built the original exhaust ourselves from bits and pieces of leftovers. This one too is literally a bit of 76mm pipe. And yeah, Nick, if you want to come and have a look in here so we can see how we engineered this. It comes in underneath through the car, pops up into the passenger cockpit. I didn't want to get rid of the seat cross member, so we managed to get it right in front of the cross member. It's got a nice little protective shield, and it is wrapped to try and keep things a little bit sensible from a heat perspective inside the car. So how did things go? You know, we were working like dogs last week. We were really worried that we weren't going to be ready because we did have some delays getting the E90 back with roll cage, so this one wasn't really getting attention. And there was a point at which we weren't even sure whether we'd get any car ready for Passion. So as it happens, we got them zipped up. We were hoping to be at the track on Thursday for free practice, nice and early. As it happens, still tightening up some loose ends, so we really only got the cars on the trailer and ready to rock and roll at around midday. We had to go via the local tire garage to get the E90's wheels aligned, and then we could head to the track and get out there. And yeah, had some great practice. I managed to do a 12.7 on this, unofficially in one of the practice sessions, which I was astonished at. That's kind of the last best time that we'd managed under Nick's right foot. I'd previously not managed to get it under a 13.3, so to get a 12.7 was really inspiring, and the car just felt fantastic. You know, it just feels sublime. It's just so forgiving. It's making, you know, on the dyno it makes very little power. It's 130 kilowatts on the wheels. Just for those of you who aren't aware, we are at very high altitude here in Gauteng, about 1,600 meters above sea level. So we're about 17% down power-wise on a typical equivalent car down at sea level. But even that 130 kilowatts is nothing to shake a hand at as far as power is concerned. Most of the other cars running 330 M54 motors are putting down in the high 130s, and some of them are even doing more than that, even not heavily modified. But it doesn't matter. It's got more than enough power. The main thing is it's really well hooked up, and as I say, very forgiving, so you can push it quite hard, and if it does get a little out of shape, you know that you're probably going to be able to keep it on the black stuff. And I will be uploading a couple of videos where you can see me getting it out of shape, which is great fun. So yeah, free practice on Thursday, Friday. We went into a couple of official practice sessions, which all went well, with the exception of kind of a brake issue, not a brake shudder, actually like a brake knock. It was a really weird sensation I hadn't had before, that I picked up actually in qualifying, and I was tempted to actually bring the car in. I was a little worried about it, and so after the first lap, I could feel this knock. Second lap, I felt the knock again. Again, thought, should I take the car in? And then I decided to just get hard on the brakes and see how it behaved then. And under hard braking, the knock wasn't really evident. So I proceeded to go through qualifying, and I was very happy to qualify third in Class D. Remembering, guys, that we really built this as a Class E car, and we were static after um, about 3/4 of a year when we actually broke through or broke out into D. It was actually Nick's times that broke us into D. And now putting it third on the grid in a big D field, I think we had about 8 or 9 cars, Nick, in D, was really satisfying. So I was super happy with that. Um, and I got the car up and I had a little look to see if I could see where this knock was coming from, without any success. I didn't notice anything until Lyle, one of our fellow racers, came past, and I'd mentioned this to him, and he had a closer look, and he actually picked up that I'd cracked a disc. Yeah, in a bit of a funny roundabout tale, it turns out that I ended up borrowing back the discs that I had sold to the guy, who then subsequently lent them on to the guy I bought the old racing discs from. So it really went through 3 sets of hands and found their way back to me, and they did superbly. So we're currently running, again, stock Meili discs on this car at the front, and they do just fine. They really do just fine. So great result. So into Saturday and the race. So being third on the grid was superb. Really happy to be there. Quite a strange experience now, being right up in the middle of this big pack of cars, where we're used to being quite deep back, particularly in the second heat, where we start from the back of the grid because of driver change. So in this case, right in the middle of things, and I was wondering how that was going to go. Had a great start. A couple of people got past me. I got past a couple of people, but at the end of the day, I finished second, which I was really, really happy with. So that was super cool. Went into the second heat, reverse grid, so I was then way back in the field. But again, I had a good start and managed to take advantage of a little bit of mix-up in the first, basically going into turn 2, and you guys can have a look at the footage. The lovely thing with this car is it stops as well, if not better than most, so I can afford to brake late without really running the risk of shunting anybody. And then most importantly, you can just put it where you want it on the track. I could change lines just in a heartbeat, and from going on an outside line, seeing a space on the inside, darting inside and getting past 2 or 3 cars, or alongside another 2 or 3, just absolutely awesome. So this car is really all about the corners. It doesn't have much straight line by any stretch of the imagination, but it's superb under brakes, and it's really superb through the twisty bits. And that's taking into account the fact that I've still got some absolutely crappy lines through some of the corners. So there's much still to be gained from driving. So yeah, into the second heat, great start again. Got through. Actually did a bit of a dirty trick on Nick, as one of the guys, I think it was Manny in the taxi, was diving past him into turn 8, and I decided to follow him through, which was probably a little bit naughty. There really wasn't the space left, but I thought Nick will understand the team orders, and he had to take some evasive action to let me through. But I didn't want to lose another lap or so chasing Manny down, and yeah, got through okay, and that. Then it really was a big space from between myself and the next car, which was an E46, an M3 turbo, in fact, as far as I'm aware, and it took me about 3 or 4 laps to chase him down. Again, not able to make up any time on the straights, but I was quicker through the corners, and I eventually took him. While all this was happening, though, I was being hunted as well by Shane Grobler, absolute gentleman of a driver. And yeah, he literally caught up to me on the last lap. Had to go quite defensive on the last lap to keep him behind me, but crossed the line in the second heat for the win. So was super happy with that. So I ended up with the overall Class D win for the day. And then, yeah, to my surprise, last night at the prize giving was also rewarded with a driver of the day. So yeah, I came home with a huge smile on my face, and nothing to do on the car. It just did what it had to do, and I really drove it hard. And quite frankly, now we want to spend. We've only got 3 days before our next event, major event at Kailami, with the 9-hour Intercontinental GT Challenge, where we're a support race. So it's a massive event for us. We've got 3 days before we've got to deliver cars to track, and I'm not even going to take this off the trailer. So we're literally going to push it back now. I'm going to give it a wipe down. I'm going to put the cover on it. And we're going to hook it up on Wednesday. And we're going to take it through to the track. And you know, what can I say? I just love this car. It's just been so good to us. So yeah, guys, look forward to showing you the footage. I'm going to get that rendered this afternoon, and hopefully, yeah, you can have a peek at that. Heat 1, Heat 2, both a lot of fun, but certainly I think for me, the second race was the cherry on the top, and yeah, I just had the best race ever. So thanks a lot, guys, and yeah, then I'm going to grab the camera from Nick and hear about his fun and games, because he certainly had an eventful weekend as well. Thanks, ciao.